And we are actually here, the ones we've been waiting for, to break down those old systems so that they collapse, and we're building new systems as the old ones collapse. It's not like one is going to collapse and then there's complete mad chaos and there's nothing else. We are actually structuring something else as that old world collapses. All of us, we're like, here we are, we're creating new shows, creating new programs, creating new events, creating new constructs, so that as those old things collapse, the people have something else to fall back on.
And that shouldn't even exist. The only algorithm that I want is one where it says, when I tweet something, every single one of my followers, few as they are, sees it. That's all I want. That's all any of us want.
Right.
And anything that suppresses that, frankly, ought to be criminal. It ought to be criminalized. So, and I think until some executives pay a price in public, and by that I mean perp walks and in irons in front of judges and stuff, and get charged and go to prison, I don't think we're going to change, because I don't think, Victoria, these people care about money. I think they're going to make a lot of money anyway. I think they're going to get paid anyway. They care about influencing the world, about making sure people like you and I do not have a voice. That's what they care about, because our truth that we speak is a threat to their globalist ambitions. It is about ideology for them. And look, don't kid yourself, okay? Don't kid yourself. These people on the other side of this battle, they want us DEA. They don't want us here. If it was up to them, they wouldn't just shut us down. They'd get rid of us. Yeah. So we cannot delude ourselves into being soft about who we're fighting. We have to understand we're fighting the bad guys. This is good versus evil. And as the global sovereignty movement accelerates here, and people all over the world just want to be who they are, there's going to create more and more pressure and more conflict.
But before we get started, folks, make sure you hit the pause button. Okay, go down below. There's a Rumble link. Go over to Rumble and follow us over there. QFS1776.com is, without question, the holy grail of what's to come. Okay, T-shirts. You got to get yourself decorated. This way people will ask you, what is XRP? What is the quantum financial system? What is this? What is that? And you send them where? To QFS1776.com, where they need to immerse themselves, because we're going to burn down this system down to the ground. And out of the ashes will rise the phoenix. There will be nothing to go back to. Believe me when I tell you that. Also, our Telegram groups down below. If you want to learn what's coming and you're sort of a little scared, I understand. Believe me, I was there too at one point. And if you need more than $10,000 worth of XRP or $1 million worth of XRP, you come see me. Send me an email at QFS1776@gmail, and we'll get you as much as you want. Gold and silver. Welcome to CarminesGold.com. Don't waste not even a second looking. Cheaper prices just don't exist. How important is it for you to own gold and silver right now? What does it mean to me personally? There's an economy that's about to crash beyond what words can explain. In 5 words, I'm going to educate you on gold and silver. Are you ready? You need to own some. Simple. Well, guys, it only is the right thing to do to introduce you to our team of co-hosts that are coming on board with us. Alyssa, already you've seen many of her shows. Victoria Reynolds and Mike Barra, who wants me to move the Quantum Summit over to Vegas.
No, I want to do 2 a year. A second one in Vegas. There, I'll manage it for you. I'm right here. What else am I doing with my time? Right? I'm a retired aerospace engineer. What else?
Exactly. So, and listen, the fact that they're lifting the censorship on social media, and we know that Trump is as serious as cancer on steroids. When he says something, he always comes through. I think the opportunity is absolutely spot on for us to move into massive expansion mode. At some point, we may also bring on board Colin O'Brien. There'll be a team of 5, okay? And who knows, maybe at some point, if we get big enough, we might have a sort of a Patrick Bet-David studio where everybody can fly in with their flying cars. They'll be here in 2 minutes, and boom, we'll knock one out. It doesn't matter whether you live in Vegas or whether you live in the North Pole. You can get here like that because we have the technology and it's all coming. So, guys, I'm going to give you guys the floor because this is more about you than it is about me. Welcome. This is going to be an incredible dream team. I think we're going to grow the brand pretty huge. I think with nothing standing in our way. and getting rid of all the speed bumps and all the censorship. I think the timing couldn't be any better.
We got to come up with a snappy name for this, though, Mel. Like the binary podcast, two dudes, two girls. I don't know, something like that. I don't know. That's just I'm just throwing that out there, but we got to come up with a snappy name for this
We
whole.
will. We
I
will.
like that.
There's plenty of time for that. So what do you think of the fact that the censorship executive order is in play? Obviously, I got to tell you the truth. I've had a good month on my main channel on YouTube. I've never grown by 1,000 people. This month, I've grown by as. Are they maybe capitulating? Is what's his name? Donald Trump grabbing them by the round one, saying, "Can you hear me now?" You know what I mean? That kind of a thing. I think that's a possibility. Where do you guys on that?
So, I mean, I think yes, I think that's unequivocally that's going to happen. I see it a little differently, and I always have. I think a lot of this censorship has been part of the show a little bit, where I think there was a big sense to try to show everybody just how crooked these folks were and what they were really doing, and they kind of upped the ante in such an incredible way that look, at the end of the day, so many people got hurt financially, a lot of podcasters, the way it really affected. But I don't think there's any question that he's been in control and his group's been in control, but I think it's all in the timing. And now I think we're going to see that, like you said, that switch really flip, because we know a lot of the people at the top of these organizations have already been taken down, and they've already, I think it's just a matter of letting people realize now that he's back. We're going to see life really change, and I think we're going to see those changes. I mean, if you're seeing those numbers already, I think, I talk to people every day that are just saying how awful it's been and how it's affected their bottom line. So we had to really weather a pretty terrible storm in the last number of years.
Yeah. Well, typically it would take us like 5 months to grow 1,000 people based on the old censorship rule.
Mhm.
The fact that we've grown by 1,000 people this month is unbelievable. I mean, we're getting ready to break 51,000 on our main channel on YouTube, which is good. But I think if there was nothing in the way and we could literally speak freely our minds and allow people to see our content, and then they could decide whether they want to subscribe or not. I think it's a huge step in the right direction. Victoria.
Well, I'm hearing that it's actually a do or die. I think that YouTube has lost a lot of followers in the last 4 years, and they're looking at their bottom line and realizing that they have actually lost a lot of money by censoring so many content providers that have gone other places. And so if they want those content providers to come back to YouTube, they have to remove those restrictions. I don't see it happening overnight. They basically have to reprogram their AI and reprogram all of the way that they do business, because they are still censoring people. I don't know about now as of January, but back in just a couple of months ago, they came to me and pulled one of my channels, one of my shows. For a show I did 4 years ago that their algorithms, their AI found. So the censorships are still in place. And it's going to take a while for them to deprogram what they programmed in to their algorithm. So it might be a while before we see it. And I do think that they are in a situation of do or die. If they don't change the way they do business, they're going to be out of business, because they're getting competition from a lot of other places. And those of us that are content providers, we're just starting our own networks. So if they want us to stay on YouTube, then they have to create a friendlier environment, or we're just all out of there.
Well,
That's
it's funny you say that, because I actually I have it's ready to go. I haven't had a chance to sit down with my programmers to get a walkthrough, but melcarmine.com is actually a thing. It's ready to go. They're waiting on me, but the only thing that's impeding me is the Quantum Summit, which is taking up all of my time. It's why I said Mike here in Barra must be a sadomasochist, because boy, you got to like a little bit of pain when you get involved in this kind of stuff. Believe me.
Well, Mel, the thing is, look, I want to put on a show here in October in Vegas anyway, so we may as well align with the Quantum Summit and bring in some of your crowd and bring you guys in here. Vegas is a fun place. In case you didn't know
It
that, it's a
is.
fun place to come. And I just thought, well, why not make it it's just an idea, and we haven't really started talking
Yeah.
about it in detail yet, but let's get through this one.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
yeah, I'd like to do, I'd like to get into the business of putting events on, because how else do you get information out to people? And trust me, down in Cape Canaveral, you're gonna have some people from the Trump administration or that are listening to what goes on at that summit. There's going to be important information exchange and messages to be sent.
Mm.
So what you're doing, I realize it's a pain and I know it's killing you, but what you're doing is important. And that's the thing to remember, is what we're all doing is important. And I agree with Victoria. I don't see much change in the censorship. I had a show deleted. We were deleted. One of my Toxically Masculine Tuesday show 3 weeks ago was deleted because we showed a clip of an interview with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. talking about the VAZC, what we're
Right.
talking
Yeah.
about,
Yeah.
right? And it was an interview he's given. This guy is nominated to be the director of Health and Human Services, and they censored us because of an interview with him, with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So
Yeah.
it's
You're
still
talking
going
about
on.
the safe and effective.
Yeah, yeah, and it's still going on. And
Yeah.
I think until some executives pay a price in public, and by that I mean perp walks and in irons in front of judges and stuff, and get charged and go to prison, I don't think we're going to change, because I don't think, Victoria, these people care about money. I think they're going to make a lot of money anyway. I think they're going to get paid anyway. They care about influencing the world, about making sure that people like you and I do not have a voice. That's what they care about, because our truth that we speak is a threat to their globalist ambitions. So I don't think it's really going to change substantially. Mel, I'm glad you're doing better. I'm not. I was well on the track to being over 100,000 subscribers myself, probably 7 years ago, if it hadn't been for the suppression and the censorship. So I'm like you, Victoria. I'm in a wait and see mode here, but we have to be encouraged by the rapidity with which the Trump administration is acting on these things that they have the authority to do, and it kills me to see the response from the left and from the globalists, because they're like, well, Trump can't fire these people. Well, yeah, he can. He won a court case in his first term that said the president can fire anybody in the executive branch he wants, which of course we all knew, but he actually got a Supreme Court ruling. So things are moving very, very rapidly, but there isn't any free speech on the web now. Even Rumble will restrict you a little bit if you say the wrong thing or talk about the wrong thing. And again, I don't have very many followers on Twitter X. I just got going again a couple years ago. I got like 4,000 followers now, and there are people with half my following that get, and I'm not exaggerating, 10 to 20 to 30 times my engagement. So I know that I'm on somebody's list. I violated some algorithm, and that shouldn't even exist. The only algorithm that I want is one where it says, when I tweet something, every single one of my followers, few as they are, sees it. That's all I want. That's all any of us want.
Right.
And anything that suppresses that, frankly, ought to be criminal. It ought to be criminalized. So, we're here. We're getting better. Have we turned the corner yet? Maybe. There's still going to be some setbacks. We have some wars to fight, but we're getting started, right? We're getting started. It's day
Yeah.
one of the invasion.
I mean,
And I
nobody really
agree with
knows what's inside this executive order. If you can speculate what Donald Trump would put in such an executive order to really lift the ban on censorship, what do you think some of those things could be?
Well, there has to be basically like an internet bill of rights, which is that the internet is the public square, and anything posted on the internet is protected by the free speech protections of the Constitution, and that anybody who violates that, if a foreign nation violates that, if they try to prosecute you for saying something they don't like in Germany, well, then Germany gets an automatic 10% tariff on everything. There's those kinds of things should be in there, and probably are in there. And there have to be criminal penalties for board members and primary shareholders and CEOs of these corporations. They have to have criminal penalties for violating people's civil rights, because that's what this is. It's violation of civil rights. And honestly, I don't understand why, when PayPal started debanking everybody who was conservative in 2015, 2016. Where's the class action suit? I don't understand why somebody hasn't funded a suit where we can all jump in, because I think it seems like they should have. And I don't understand why that hasn't happened, because what they did is a violation of the civil rights of Americans. It's that simple. So those are the things I'd like to see. And again, I need to see some people. I'm going to be really calm about this. Go to prison. That's not exactly what I want, but that's a start, right? And
I
until that
say bring in the
happens,
guillotine.
yeah, I
Go.
mean, let's make the French Revolution great again, is what I like to
Yeah.
say.
Victoria,
What do you
what do you
I
think?
completely agree with that, having to see it. And I think, but here's a question. Because people want to see these people punished. So I think, don't forget, like we've been affected. I think when you have a lot of the folks that are still watching mainstream, they don't really get it. They don't understand the extent to which this suppression of being of free speech has really
Mm-hmm.
happened. So once again, we have to wait for people to see it so then we can punish these people publicly. But do you guys think that, like, what do you think about? Because sometimes I get crazy with my thoughts and I think maybe the goal really is to get rid of them completely. Maybe it is like to let them do all this so that we can really, and then have people like us and the independents and the new media rise up. I mean, do you think that might be part of the plan too? That the future with YouTube and some of these platforms, like Victoria, you were saying, people are just going on and starting their own networks, and Mel's ready to do it. So could that be part of what this is about, like helping them self-destroy?
Yeah, I actually saw that a few years ago. As you know, I'm a futurist, and one of the visions I was shown a few years ago is a game of cards. So they're all at these big dogs, as we call them, are all at a table playing a game of cards, and they play their every card they've got until they don't have any cards left to play, and they will start to self-implode. And as they self-implode, they'll start attacking each other, if you imagine like a dog fight, and they will start to attack each other and bring each other down as we create an entirely new reality as that old reality is starting to collapse. Now, one of the other things I saw are class action lawsuits. You're going to start seeing more class action lawsuits of YouTubers who lost a ton of money by losing their YouTube channel. Here's a perfect example. A couple of weeks ago, they threatened to cancel Dr. Drew. Now, that's not somebody you want to be canceling. That's like canceling Dr. Oz or Dr. Phil. But those are the kinds of people they're going after. And so at some point, all these YouTubers can't get together and create a class action lawsuit. Unfortunately, the attorneys get 30%, but still it's sending a message. And part of what I was seeing is that as these corporations are brought down, as these individuals are brought down, then their money gets redistributed back to the people they stole it from. So for me, this is a perfect example. If YouTube starts to collapse, part of that is giving the money back to the people that they stole the money from. And it's millions and millions and millions of dollars that YouTubers have lost by losing their channels. So it's potentially a huge, huge class action lawsuit. I'm surprised some attorney hasn't jumped on it because there is so much money in it, and bringing these corrupt organizations down. And it was really interesting when you were talking about how it isn't just about money. I saw this great, it was a Star Wars, one of the off series of Star Wars, and they were asking this senator who was pretending to be a good guy, he was actually a bad guy, and they asked him, the rebel said, well, why would you do this? And he said, well, when you have all the money you could ever possibly want, all that's left is control. So it's the control that they want. They got all the money they want. Now what they're after is the control. So, but we're not so easy to control, are we? We think differently. We're not so easily programmed, because we're here to break down those old systems. So the more we understand we are actually here, the ones we've been waiting for, to break down those old systems so that they collapse, and we're building new systems as the old ones collapse. It's not like one is going to collapse and then there's complete mad chaos and there's nothing else. We are actually structuring something else as that old world collapses. All of us, we're like, here we are, we're creating new shows, creating new programs, creating new events, creating new constructs, so that as those old things collapse, the people have something else to fall back on.
Yeah, I wrote a book like 14 years ago and said exactly all of that. So yeah, I absolutely 100% agree with you. And it's about making the choice to move on from this corrupt world we've been in for 2,000 years. This
Right.
corrupted, occulted age of Pisces needs to end, and it's time for Aquarius to take over and for everybody to start, having access to all the truth that's out there. And that in and of itself will bring about the collapse of the hierarchies and structures that no longer serve the human race. So that I think that I agree with everything you just said there, and it is about ideology for them. And look, don't kid yourself, okay? Don't kid yourself. These people on the other side of this battle, they want us DEA. They don't want us here. If it was up to them, they wouldn't just shut us down. They they they'd get rid of
Yeah.
us. So we cannot delude ourselves into being soft about who we're fighting. We have to understand we're fighting the bad guys. We're not, this is good versus evil. And as the global sovereignty movement accelerates here, and people all over the world just want to be who they are, there's going to create more and more pressure and more conflict in all these areas. So right now, we got the advantage. I think, we need to press it. We need to go with what Patton said, may God have mercy on the souls of my enemies because I won't. And that's the way we have to look at this, I think.
It's a
Oh,
war.
oh.
And, Mel, you and I were talking off camera before.
Mm.
I think it's very interesting that as this executive order for the censorship is happening, simultaneously, Trump is calling for podcasters to have access to the White House, right? So isn't that kind of interesting, like what you were just saying, Mike, and you're saying,
Yeah,
Victoria? So, and I'll just tell this. So
I applied.
my mom calls me
Me too.
yesterday, all excited, and she's like, do you know what President Trump is doing? You're a podcaster. You have to apply. Like it was very cute. I think a lot of people that have been in this movement and watching it are really excited that they're going to have a voice through the people that they follow and that they trust. And I just find that like really about we the people. And I think that's a really exciting thing. What are you guys thinking about that?
The most gorgeous thing of all is the fact that he's taken over the world in a good way. The Panama Canal, Mexico, Canada,
Greenland.
Greenland.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like a machine. I think personally, the fact that what happened in 2020 with the election debacle, let's call it that for a lack of a better term, you have to like sort of get crafty with your words to stay under the
Yeah.
radar on YouTube because we're still not there, right? But the fact that we allowed this clown because he was a clown. He was not the commander in chief. Because if he was the commander in chief, he would have been able to sign an executive order and shut down Guantanamo Bay. He was never able to do that. And if he was, it would have been done in a second. So think about that. So the commander in chief was always Donald J. Trump.
Mm-hmm.
He took the 4 years simpatico, the break, and he organized and he organized and he organized and he put his team together and he put all these different teams together for all these 30 of the worst problems we have that he's currently attacking right now, and he had to put the perfect teams together. That was the best thing that could happen, and simultaneously waking up the normies. It was beautiful. It was executed flawlessly, and if he had to do it again, I'm sure he would do it exactly the same way.
And not to mention that the executive orders that kept getting, re, you know, every time they would expire, they would be reinstated. So obviously that was a big sign of who was in control.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I
And
mean, even Mel,
yeah,
even for instance, the executive order on allowing us to buy foreign paper currencies, right?
right.
That's never been rescinded. The left does not want the individual, the peasants, as Barack Obama called us, to have access to this when it finally happens. But they've never rescinded the executive order. That shows you who was really in charge. And I think the language I think was really interesting is
Hmm.
in this helicopter Canadair jet crash. They've said this several times that they were on a continuity of government mission. The Black Hawk helicopter, continuity of government. Where have you heard that before? Continuity of government. So people who have not heard that phrase before are gonna go, well, what the heck is continuity of government? What does that mean? And then they're gonna start digging, and they're gonna wake up even more people. But I for one, am done trying to wake people up. I think everybody who's going to be awake is already awake. So let's just move on and
Yeah.
finish this off.
The fact that he has been listening to his kids, like Barron Trump, to go on podcasts like Patrick Bet David and Joe Rogan and all these big podcasters. Donald Trump has been making his rounds. He's making us the new mainstream media. Okay, this is huge, and he's got to keep moving in that direction, as far as I'm concerned. Simply to send the mainstream media not just a punishment, but a message. We're not dealing, like, with the exception of maybe Laura Ingraham and Maria Bartiromo. Okay, you know who Maria is, right?
Yeah.
Right. I don't think he should never go on Hannity. He should never go on on any of the other shows on Fox. He should never go on any mainstream media. He should completely allow them to literally drown at this point. And the way to do that is to completely ignore them.
You know, it's interesting. They kicked the New York Times out. They kicked NBC, I think, out. These guys all got kicked out of the White House. Now they have offices over at the Pentagon, and he's bringing in podcasters and streamers to come into those offices. And it's like, people are making a big, NBC got kicked out of the White House. Well, you know what? An 11-year-old rerun of Me on Ancient Aliens gets more viewers than MSNBC does in prime time. Why the hell do they have an office in the White House in the first place? So they're propagandists, they're liars, they're not there to tell people the truth. They're there to obscure the truth. And to see him finally doing these moves, making these moves and doing these things is very satisfying. Although, again, I will just say, it's like, what do they call 10,000 lawyers at the bottom of the ocean? A good start, right? This is a good start, but we're not there yet. We're not there yet until we have a voice in there asking the uncomfortable questions about the President Kennedy assassination and about cryptocurrencies. Until we're in there asking the questions that the mainstream just won't touch, we're not there yet. But we're making some moves, and we're off to a good
Let's
start.
switch gears. Let's talk a little bit about why the FBI director, the new FBI director, what's his name, Patel,
Kash Patel.
Kash Patel has not been confirmed. Let's talk about Tulsi Gabbard, why she's not been confirmed, and RFK. What is the other side doing that's slowing it down? Why is this going on? Do you guys have any information on that?
Well, let me just start. I just talked, but let me talk again real quick. Yeah, I mean, the financial reset cannot go forward until all of Trump's people are in place. Not just the financial people, but he needs his attorney general, Pam Bondi. They're slowing her down. He needs the director of the FBI. He needs to have his guy in place there. And, he needs Robert F. Kennedy, because there's a lot of technologies that are going to be revealed, health technologies, Mel, which you know all about, that are going to be revealed. So they're delaying these because they think it's going to stop them from beginning the financial reset. And we are that close to the financial reset, where we go on to a gold-backed currency and all sorts of other things we've all talked about. So that's why these things are being held, but they can't hold it forever. It's going to get pushed eventually. So,
well, I took advantage of the XRP fire sale.
Last night. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I thought I got in at like $2.04, only to learn that I got in at $1.94.
Ooh, even better.
I'm like, can you imagine? Like, we were buying it for 50 cents 2.5 months ago, right?
Yeah.
And now $2 or $1.94 seems cheap, right?
Yeah. Right.
Seems inexpensive. I had to do what I had to do,
Yep. So we're just waiting, I think, to get everybody in place for the key cabinet positions, and then it's probably go time. That's what I heard.
How much longer do you think the quantum financial system will take place once all the pieces of the puzzle are in place with the people that are supposed to be appointed?
The upcoming Quantum Summit represents a convergence of advanced scientific, technological, and socio-economic paradigms aimed at addressing some of the most pressing and transformative issues of our time. The topics, curated to spark intellectual and practical innovation, include: Number 1, next-generation digital finance systems. Examination of digital assets like XRP, XLM, XDC, and their alignment with the ISO 20022 standard for interoperability and global financial integration. The emergence of gold-backed Basel-compliant tokens, setting a new precedent for asset-backed financial instruments. Discussion of the role of XRP as a potential stablecoin, RLUSD, and its implications of redefining real USD stability. Number 2, currency reevaluation and sound money principles. Insights into potential reevaluation of legacy currencies such as the Iraqi dinar, Vietnamese dong, and Zimbabwe dollar. Advocacy for a gold-backed monetary system and the reintroduction of sound money to stabilize global economies. Number 3, global governance and alliances. Collaboration between Space Force and the Galactic Federation and the so-called White Hats, with a focus on strategic advancements in security and cosmic governance. Exploratory discussion on controversial topics such as flat Earth theories and the hidden realms of the inner Earth. Number 4, Antarctica's mysteries and strategic importance. A scientific investigation into Antarctica's geopolitical and ecological significance, potentially uncovering revolutionary insights. Number 5, revolutionizing public health and environmental policies. Contributions from consultants to the RFK administration on transforming the U.S. food supply, aiming for super organic standards. Addressing the eradication of harmful practices by entities like Monsanto, alongside a comprehensive overhaul of the agricultural system. Number 6, advanced technologies for well-being. Introduction of scalar energy technologies presented by experts. Exploration of holistic modalities such as prospects of these treatments being covered by future insurance policies, signaling a paradigm shift in healthcare accessibility and innovation. Number 7, environmental reformation and atmospheric engineering. Strategies for eliminating chemtrails and fostering ecological balance using advanced technologies and holistic approaches. A transformative experience. This summit promises a rare opportunity to engage with groundbreaking ideas, cutting-edge technologies, and visionary thought leaders. Attendees will leave with unparalleled insights and actionable knowledge, making this event as a pivotal milestone in the journey towards a sustainable, equitable, and enlightened future. Prepare for discussions that challenge conventional narratives and illuminate the path to systemic global transformation.
Oh, pretty much instantly, from what I understand, because it's all ready to go. It's all working. It's all operating in the background. I've heard from numerous people that they're using it here and there, but they can't switch off the old system until the new one is all set and ready to go. And Trump makes that decision ultimately.
Right. Did you hear of anything in terms of this guy who is the boss of the Treasury, the top head guy, is supposedly in Iraq right now, boots on the ground?
That was a rumor last week. Been told by other people that it was like his deputy director, but with there at Bessett's behest, Bessett or whatever his name is. I don't know that I trust that guy. He's got ties to George Soros, but he may be a Luca Brasi situation. Either your brains or your signature is going to be on the contract, right? So he may be cooperating because he's been told to cooperate. So I did hear that, yes, there were high-level Treasury representatives in country last week, and I believe they've gone home because they don't need to be there anymore. So, we're just waiting and keep hearing the rumors that it's tonight, it's tomorrow, it's supposed to happen. We shall just wait and see. But, it could still go on a while longer. But if it does, it's all political shenanigans. It's not because the financial system's not ready for the reset. They are ready.
Gotcha. Well, I think it has to reevaluate. It's not like they can say, okay, we're going to revalue the entire country except for Vietnam, Iraq, and Venezuela. You know what I mean?
Look, remember, people forget the current rate is what, 1,320 dinars to the dollar. First of all, if you evaluate Iraq independently, just financially, that's a ridiculous currency value. It's ridiculously low. It should be in the $1 to $3 range because of the resources they have. And remember, this is an artificial programmed rate. That's what they call it. So when is the artificial program rate going to be taken off? It has to be taken off sooner or later. They've dotted all the I's. They've crossed all the T's. It should have happened a long time ago. So there's just no way that this is the real rate of their currency, even if you completely separate out the whole GCR and everything else we're talking about all the time, it makes zero sense in a secular non-GCR world for that rate to be the current rate. Their currency is worth thousands of times that, just based on the oil they have in the ground, not to mention everything else they've discovered. So it's only a matter of when does it revalue? And then the second question, are they going to allow us, I hate to say cash in, but to cash in on that? And that, according to the law right now, they have to. So we'll see.
Well, there's only one person in this room that's been waiting longer than everybody. That's Victoria Reynolds. She's been waiting for a long time.
Really,
She's had these
Victoria? When
things.
did you get into it? When did you get into it?
2010.
Oh, I might have her beat. I think I got in 2009, Mel. I think 09 or 09 or 010. It was somewhere in there, definitely. But we've been waiting a long time. So
Yeah, a long time. And what happened, what a lot of people don't understand is that it was artificially devalued.
yes,
It was devalued as a sanction against the country way back when we were trying to get in there and mess with them. And the powers that be, the some of the people at the top devalued it intentionally so they could go in and buy it at that lower rate and then then once the sanctions were removed, put the value back up. The rest of us were not supposed to know about it.
no, and this is exactly what they
That
did.
word got out, and they're trying to figure out how can we revalue the money without the masses
Yeah.
who have found out about it. So they talked, a lot of light workers gave up and turned their currency back in. And some
How
of
many
us,
millions of people own dinars? Do we know that number? Because think about this for a second. The most popular guy in the world, under God, is about to get more popular once just the dinars, just that one thing revalues, and there's gonna be like a million new multi-millionaires. I mean, this guy's gonna become like how much more popular can this guy get?
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is exactly how they did it in Germany and Japan after World War II. How did the Marshall Plan get paid for? With revaluing the currency, right? And the government, we printed their money. And of course, they did a test run again in Kuwait. That's what the invasion of Kuwait was about in 1991. Did a test run of that. And guess what? All of a sudden, when they revalued the Kuwaiti dinar, all of a sudden the U.S. had a budget surplus after 30 or 40 years of budget deficits. And remember when the second Bush gave us our Bush bucks and stuff like that. So they definitely had a plan to just go bigger with Iraq, but somehow, some way, we got that executive order 13303 that allowed individuals to buy these exotic currencies because before that, during the Kuwait, you and I couldn't buy Kuwaiti dinars. We were not allowed to do that. You had to be a quote institutional investor to the tune of $10 million of investment to buy the Kuwaiti dinar. So this plan has been in place for a long time. I think it dates back to the Reagan-Mitterrand protocols in the late 1980s, 1988 or so. They are finally, God, let's hope we're finally getting to the end of it, Victoria, because, I was originally told the dinar itself would go on June 30th, 2011. So that day came and went because I think the people we like to call the white hats, who I hope are on our side, they decided, well, why just do this with Iraq? Why don't we do it for the whole world? And we can save the entire world and change everything. I think they came up with this plan, but damn, I am tired of waiting.
Yeah.
I just,
well, those are the conversations that we had back then. Was that because I get my guidance from up here. I don't get it by all my guidance comes from higher realms. And that what I was shown all those years ago is what they wanted to do was rebalance the entire planet. So every country becomes sovereign and every country's currency is equal to every other. It's like rebalancing the playing field.
Yeah.
That was the plan. So when I bought it in 2010, it was like, okay, next week they're going to revalue. So I went and bought a bunch 15 years ago. And it's that same narrative that's been used every week. This is the week. Every week it's this. I'm like, you know what? When it's the real deal, I'll know. But I don't listen to those predictions anymore. I had to stop because 10 years ago I was putting my life on hold for waiting for the dinar to revalue, and that's how I'm going to. And I finally realized that was a ridiculous way to live my life. And so all these people, since the awakening that had occurred around 2020, a whole bunch more people went out and bought dinar as opposed to all the people that let it go for the 10 years before that. So now there's been a whole new surge of people that own these exotic currencies.
Yeah.
See it again. Well, we're waiting for the RV, waiting for Nassar Jassar. And I don't believe in waiting for anything.
Yeah. And again, I'm like you in a way. Years ago, I just stuck it in a drawer, put it into some safe boxes and stuff, and just said, okay, when this happens, I'll go get it. I know where it is, and I'm not going to let the roller coaster upset me because again, I now do this show a couple times a week, and it's mostly what we're focused on, and I'm saying the same things I was hearing from the dinar gurus 10 years ago. It's supposed to be tomorrow. All I can do is report what people tell me. And I know these people are credible because they're involved in it at various levels and they're involved in government at various levels. But again, they're not the ones in charge. They're not the ones pulling the triggers. So we have to wait until those people are satisfied. But let me go back a little bit even further, Mel. I know a guy, I can't say his name. I would recommend you go to the cbdgurus.com. Just going to say that. But used to have a limo service in Minnesota, in Minneapolis. And in 1995, he picks up a guy, an older gentleman, and they're driving, and Matt's driving. Well, I already said it. Matt's driving him to the airport. Matt told me the story. And he says to the guy, what do you do? And he says, I work for the Bible department of the government. And the guy says, what the hell is that? And he goes, well, we look at events and try to predict them in the future based on the Bible. And he said, okay, that's great. So you got any secrets you can tell me? And he said, buy foreign currency. And he gave him specific countries, including the ones we're all familiar with, and said, it's supposed to happen. I think it'll happen in 2023. And so he actually has been longer than you or me, Victoria. He's been in this since 1995. So this is a plan, and it's God's plan, I think. And I firmly, finally believe we are really right on the brink of it. I don't see what could stop it now.
I haven't been in it as long as you guys have, probably like 5 years, but interestingly, and I wish I could remember, I had read a story, Mike, this might trigger something for you, but somebody was saying that worked for one of the big financial institutions back in the early 90s, late 80s, that they were talking about this. And all the guys were really excited about it. And then the boss said, yeah, but it's not going to happen for like 30 years. So this plan has, they've known, whoever they are,
Right.
how this is supposed to play out. But I think we have to realize, like I think we've all been saying, other things really do need to be in place because otherwise, the value and all the good it's supposed to do is not going to be for what it is if it doesn't happen in the right
Right,
time.
and that's the thing too, is if it had happened in 2011, maybe the bad guys would have stolen half of it from us or stolen it from a lot of us.
Might not have got on the
We don't
right
know.
timeline, at the time. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, they
So-
were heavily invested, so
Yeah.
yeah, and they have actually since been cleaned out of the process. So over the last couple of years, I have friends who are in the banking industry, and the entire banking industry has now shifted to be able to handle this new level of prosperity, new type of prosperity that they just were not equipped. And so over the past couple of years, they've been doing test runs. And what's been really interesting in the test runs, every time they do a test run, they would find more people who were driven by greed, and they would catch them in the process of trying to hack into all this money that's flowing through. So every time they do a test, they would find more riffraff, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So now the guidance I'm getting is that it's clean. The systems have all been tested. The riffraff has been removed. It's just a matter of, and as we know, this is officially triggered the golden age as of 3 weeks ago, which was amazing to hear talk about that it's now all in place. All it takes is just a flip of the switch. It's all good to go. But the other thing to keep in mind, and Mel and I've talked to you about this before, if they were to completely unleash Nassar Jassar across the entire planet, it would be a disaster.
Yeah.
So it is going to be channeled through people who know what to do with the money, who have the resonance, who have the programs in place to actually know what to do with the money. So
Yeah.
it must,
Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny that they are disguising the Nasara Jasara under
Yeah,
OGE?
yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
Yeah.
God, or
is
Doge.
it like
Yeah,
in your face?
yeah.
it
It is if you're
it
paying
has to be
attention.
that way. It has to
Right.
be that way.
Right, and you're right, Victoria, because the thing is, this has to be generational, right? I mean, let's assume we all know this is a real thing. Let's assume med beds are a real thing too. There are people of a certain generation are simply not going to trust it. They're not going to get into things. They're not going to take it. So we have to come up with a separate old school medical treatment programs for them. And there's lots of cures out there from, with drugs and pharmaceuticals and things like that. I'm sure for many of the diseases we have, because those people just aren't going to be able to make the transition. We're going to need to grow like two more generations. For them, med beds will be healthcare. And again, for our children's children, abundance will be their lifestyle. There will be less concern about scarcity. There'll be less scarcity. Sure, if you want a bigger, nicer house on the hill, maybe you're going to have to be more productive and do something else, open the new business. Sure, that'll still be there, but you won't have a level of scarcity and scarcity motivated behavior that you have now. So it's going to take a generation or two, I think, transition to the new economy. So again, and you're right, if all of a sudden if they just flipped a switch on all this stuff, I don't think people could adapt instantly. They would definitely need some time, and some people just needed.
Society would actually collapse. If
Hmm.
everybody had everything, no one would go to work, nothing would get made, society would actually collapse if
Yeah.
everybody suddenly had a lot of money. So there has to be a delivery system that delivers the prosperity to the people that know how to use it to build the new infrastructure for humanity. And what's really interesting when you talk about the med beds, we know that we actually have the consciousness to heal our bodies. But within the consciousness that humanity presently has, we feel like we need an external device to do the healing.
Hmm.
And travel, same thing. I've actually seen what travel looks like in the future. There will come a time when our consciousness will just move us from one place to the other, but it's going to take humanity a while. It could be generations before we think we need technology to do it for us. So
Yeah.
eventually we won't even need the technology, but that could be hundreds of years from now before human beings wean themselves off technology. So in the meantime, because human beings think they need a pill or drug or a bed or some kind of technology, that's going to be, even the healing technology is a huge jump for a lot of people to not have to depend on drugs and pills and all of that
Right.
to make them feel better. So
Yeah. It's
have to,
interesting
they
because
have to ease, ascension isn't a flash. It's actually been started in the 1960s. It's not a one day event. It's actually a process that humanity goes through as we move out of the old ages and into the new ages, out of, as we're saying, out of the age of Pisces and into the age of Aquarius. And this has been, my understanding is close to 12,000 years, not 2,000 years, as we're moving out of those old ages, the Iron Age and the Bronze Age and all of that. So we're moving into this new age. That's the age of Aquarius. But my guidance is it's also called the age of ingenuity, which is extraordinary. We're creating all these amazing, amazing technologies that for the first time are not at the expense of the planet and at the expense on the backs of the people. But it's going to take.
I think there's certain things like food and housing and water. We're not going to think of them in terms of something we have to pay for anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
that's going to be hard for us to change. But our children and our children's children, they're going to grow up in that world where housing is not something you pay for. Yeah, if you want the super big, nice house up on the hill with the view of a strip here in Vegas, yeah, you're going to have to work and create and get a little bit more money. But money's only going to be used for certain things for a long time, for a while. And then, after that, it's going to be it's going to be that there are fewer and fewer things you need money to create or to generate or to obtain for yourself. So I think that way you have to, people have to do something, right? I mean, you have to be productive. So we're going to push people to still be productive for those extra things you want. And then eventually that mentality will probably go by the wayside too, because I look at this generation today, right? And I mean, I want to drive at the Indy 500, but I'm not a good enough driver. I'll kill myself and somebody else. Oh, so I'll play a video game where I get to do that, right? And they will just spend all their time just doing that, you know? I mean, I'm lazy. We're all lazy. So it's going to be interesting to see how we encourage people to still be productive and contribute to humanity and, like you said, to the planet and the world, rather than just be focused on, oh well, I've got to have a place to sleep, so I better go earn some money. That's not healthy, obviously.
But I think the difference is that right now people do that. I don't know how many people actually do that because they are trying to be productive or because there's a need and there's a fear.
Yeah.
So, we need to move out of the fear. We need to move out of that so that when we are doing something, we're doing it as creators and we're
Hmm.
doing it with the intention of wanting to be productive and help. And you're right, that's going to take a while, but I'm laughing at what you're saying, Mike, because it's like when I think of Alex Collier when he, was talking to, I think it was Visayas, or when he says you're like the only species that pay to live on your planet. So, God willing, that's going to change. Like you said, the basic needs. But hopefully that will give way to the creativity that we all have, which has been so beaten out of us, with fear and all the other things that they've done to mind control us, where I don't know that we're lazy. I really don't. I don't think I would call humanity lazy. I think we are resistant or have been taught that we're sort of defeated before we try. And I think that's going to be something that hopefully will take a little bit
Well,
of
yeah,
time,
I
but
guess what I'm getting at is that you're still going to need there to be a reward for
yeah.
doing more than the guy next to you. That's human nature, right? You know, if there's a reward for that, and right now it's money, maybe it'll be something else, but in the future. But to my mind, that still has to be there. There has to be a reward, a benefit to going the extra mile and working the extra hours and doing the extra thing. And maybe the difference is going to be at first in Nasara, maybe the difference is just that we all get to retire at 55, right? Nobody has to work beyond that because you got this trust fund and you've been contributing to it, and yeah, your productive years are 20 to 55, and then after that, guess what? You get to take the rest of your life off and live on the fruits of your labor. So even that would be a huge change from the world we're living in now, which is really not doesn't reward you for success the way it used to, and hence I think there's less success.
Mm.
And
But
most people
I
get
think the
stuck at a
thing
dead
is,
end job and
yeah,
they do a labor that they don't like. Go ahead.
Yeah.
right. Well, it's being able to teach people, the old saying, do what you love and the money will follow.
Hmm.
Being able to go, because human beings have been in fear and survival for so many thousands of years. It's the only thing we really know. And being able to go back to do what you love and the money will follow. Yes, it's a nice little tagline, but how many people are actually doing what they love and actually receiving the prosperity that comes with doing what they love? So even the education model will shift to show people how when you do what you love and you energize that, then the money will come with that. And that in itself is the reward. I get to do what I love and I get to make money do it. Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. And if we could teach that to kids, right now that model doesn't exist. Right now the model is you have to go to school, you have to go to college, you have to get a job, and it's all about survival.
Mhm.
So even the education model's got to completely shift so that people can understand that being productive, human beings are actually creators. That's the one thing that we all are. If we're not creating something, then human beings get depressed. I mean, by nature, we love to create. So it isn't about having to work for money. What it's more about, in the future, how can I be more creative? How can what I create make an impact in the world? That's actually the reward in itself, because when you do something that you love doing and people appreciate it, there's a tremendous emotional reward that comes as well. So it's part of this also is a re-educating people that a new model is possible.
Hmm.
Well, the education system has just been built to beat every last free thinking, creative bone out of everybody's body. So, I am excited about that and about some of the changes that are going to be made in the education system, getting rid of all these ridiculous things that these kids have been enduring. And as parents, we've had to sit by and watch the nonsense that's gone on in the schools or, take.
Yeah.
When my daughter went to high school, I can't tell you how many times I was up at that school carrying on about what they were having them read. And I was like a freak, because I didn't want my daughter reading about pedophilia. Really? She's in an all-girls Catholic school. I don't know why they would have to be reading this, like
Yeah.
just absurd kind of stuff. So I see. I think it's going to be like it's going to be these little things that start happening, but it is going to take some time, and I guess that's why we're here, because we're trying to lead this charge and bring that light to
Right.
to
Well,
the
the thing
world.
is that's going to be different for us is when this thing happens, let's say it's 5 or 6 million people that have foreign currency and they have enough to do more than just take care of their own needs and live a comfortable life. We're talking about you can do something with it, right? We automatically have more responsibility to our fellow man to do something with that. And I don't know what it is. I don't care what it is. It doesn't have to be a humanitarian project. I'm going to make documentaries. I'm going to make movies. I'm going to write books like fiction novels and stuff to entertain people and teach lessons that I think are important. So it's like you have a responsibility to do something with that. And that responsibility is more than just having a good time for yourself and your family. It's like again, I think the Trumps are a prime example of people that are go out and are to do something with what they have. So that's not we got more response. You think you just hit the jackpot, but all of a sudden, buddy, you have more responsibility too because you were allowed to find out about this and get involved in it, and now you have to do more than just you know to go to Vegas and live on a yacht and drive a Ferrari, right? There's more to it than that. That's part of it. Go enjoy yourself, but you're saddled with responsibility. What am I going to do with this extra $20 million I don't need? Think
Do
about
what
that.
you want.
Yeah.
It's one pressure that I welcome.
Yes, me too. Me too.
Really.
But when you talk to people like us, like our little group or other people, I think there's a certain frequency that a lot of us are out. Like, yeah, would I like to go on a few more vacations? Yeah, but I think by and large, most of the people, I could be wrong, I think have that frequency of I don't know that I need a lot more clothes. I don't know that I need the car anymore. Like I want to do those nice things. I want to help people. And I think for the most part, I think maybe divine intervention in many ways is that those are the people that understand the responsibility that comes with this, and not only the responsibility, Mike, but the desire, like now I can really make a difference. Now I can really do something and I can create in a way that helps other people. We've all been frustrated,
Mhm.
where you want to help people, you want to do something good and you're like, yeah, but I just don't have the funds to do it. It's not like I
Right.
wish I had the funds because I want to buy 12 houses, like it's a different motivation I think a lot of us have that are holding these currencies.
I have big plans. I just, I need the resources, right?
No. Well, resources is going to be artificial intelligence. It's going to be robotics that do the labor, all the hard labor that
Hmm.
man can't, right? Because we have enough technology in those 6,000 patents that are hitting that if they were to release all of it, 95% of the planet doesn't have to go to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So
somebody
that's
is
again,
controlling us. Somebody's
that's a
controlling us.
transition though.
Right.
Again, Mel, that's going to take time because
That's going
again,
to take 12 years,
yeah,
15 years for sure.
yeah,
Because work takes on a whole new meaning. The word work is maybe work out. Maybe go work on yourself. Maybe
Yeah.
go learn how to meditate better. Maybe learn how to be more spiritual. Maybe go learn how to work out with a professional bodybuilder if that's what floats your boat. And look at other technologies that allow us to sort of complement us wanting to live longer, right?
right.
And so that's where I think and we'll have more time to spend with our friends and family and
Hmm.
enjoy ourselves instead of work, work.
Yeah.
Who invented this work? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
The people who enslaved us, I think.
Hmm.
Right. Well, guys, I think this was great. Guys, this is our new team. We're gonna be doing this every single Monday. Victoria and Elisa Valentino are going to be the co-hosts at the Quantum Summit, March 8th and 9th. It's going to be a blast. We're going to open up your mind. We're going to put a lot of stuff inside that mind. We're going to paint the picture of what the future is going to look like. And it's going to be fabulous. And if your mind looks like it, your brain looks like it wants to explode, it's probably because we put maybe a little bit too much information in there. You'll have a blast. Make sure you book your ticket. Quantum Summit 1776 down at the bottom. And we'll probably bring on board Mark as well. And we're going to probably bring on board one more person. And we're going to build a team. And at some point, it will be a studio. When the guys upstairs get their shorts untangled and allow us to have wealth that is ours to begin with. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Gold and silver. Welcome to CarminesGold.com. Don't waste not even a second looking. Cheaper prices just don't exist. How important is it for you to own gold and silver right now? What does it mean to me personally? There's an economy that's about to crash beyond what words can explain. In 5 words, I'm going to educate you on gold and silver. Are you ready? You need to own some. Simple.